Hey guys, Jake Ryan here. I wanted to hop in because it is the beginning of a month and I figured why not bring in a little hot take, right? Why not stir the pot a little bit and give some information that will ruffle some feathers and my perspective on a couple things. And so I love when some of these posts get heated debates and it really ignites the intelligence and the education and the passion that people have inside of the industry. When you have people that bring in misinformation and people that bring in educated information, and people are able to bounce off of that. And I think that's one of the great things about being part of a community is that you have all of this feedback, and I love it. It's not about getting in arguments on the chats, and some people get in their feelings a little bit sometimes, but it's a beautiful thing for me to just witness reading somebody's posts and knowing, myself being in the industry for about a decade, knowing they know. And so I just wanted to share a little hot take, and I'm sure that everybody will have different opinions about this. So I believe that the idea of high intent when setting an appointment, whether that be a door knocking set or a over the phone set, whatever it might be, I believe that a high intent set is at minimum completely irrelevant and in most cases detrimental to the sales process. I believe that a true closer is an alchemist, somebody who takes nothing and turns it into something. And so the more that I have of something when I'm getting started, the less I'm able to create, right? The more nothing I have, the more nebulous that I have, the more pliability, the more I have to work with, right? So if I have somebody who has already handled objections and already talked about solar and already answered questions for the homeowner, well, I don't even know if they might not even have a desire. Most people that are looking into solar or have heard about solar, they just have a couple simple questions. They want those questions answered. If they get the answers to those questions, there's not really any desire. There's no meat on the bone. There's no continued desire. It's if you go on a date with somebody and you're an open book and you tell them everything about yourself and your entire life and everything that there is to know, what's left? What intrigue is there to go on another date, right? There has to be some mystery and there has to be some sort of creation of desire to want to continue down that path. And so I think that a lot of times we're training setters on all of this objection handling and all of this basic solar knowledge and how to answer all these questions when really it should be a qualification and confirmation. I'm confirming a time and date with you. I'm going to ask you a couple questions about the property just to make sure that solar does pre-qualify so we don't waste the time to get you in touch with one of the experts. Anything over and beyond, that's a question for our expert. That's what they're here to do. Now, I don't care if there's any intent whatsoever. If I show up to a house, you get me in a door and you get me with both decision makers or a single decision maker, whatever it is, right? As long as the decision makers are there and I'm in a house and I have a date and time, I don't care if you told them I'll be there 15 minutes. I'll buy the time. I'll earn the time. I'll earn the right to continue my conversation. I'll earn the right to stay in the home and go through the process. I'll gain and then maintain control of the conversation and lead people into a path where I'm actually making the decision for the homeowner in a way that they're so comfortable with, they're convinced they made the decision themselves. And I'm able to do that ethically because I know that I'm leaving them in a better position than I found them. And so I want to be able to create. I don't want to be constricted to whatever has been put in their head by somebody who is not actually closing the deal. If it's my job to close the deal, I want to have full control over that. So all I want is put me in a house. Tell them we're doing free energy audits. Tell them we're giving away Chick-fil-A gift cards. I don't care. I'll tell you right now, back in, I think it was like 2014 or so, there was literally a campaign that was ran that we were doing free energy audits. And when we showed up there, you would get a free coupon. I don't remember if it was Chick-fil-A or I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was some sort of coupon, right? Or a gift card. And people were just expecting you to come and do an energy audit. Tons of times you'd show up and people were expecting you to do like a blower door wind audit in the house. And so those were some of the funnest and best times in solar because there wasn't all of this pre-assumed information. There wasn't all of this, hey, this is high intent, this is low intent. First of all, if you tell a closer Even if you don't say it's low intent, if you just say, hey, certain ones of these are high intent, mentally, they're going to go into those appointments differently. If it's somebody who is, maybe they're in a closing position, but they're not a masterful closer, they're just a decent salesperson, they're going to get in their head about, oh, well, this one wasn't a high intent, or this one was an 8 on the scale, or a 6 on the scale. And you're automatically messing with the mentality of how they're going into that sale. And so I don't care if there's any intent at all. I actually would prefer as much resistance up front as humanly possible. If the people say, listen, I'm not buying, I'm not interested, 20 people have knocked my door, those are the people that I want, because you know what? If all that resistance is right there up front, I know all I got to do is get past it, and it's smooth sailing from there, right? There's an old wise tale back in the sailors when they were sailing across the seas that if all the skies were clear in the beginning, then it was an omen that they might have to go through some storms in the deep seas. And if they hit storms early, it was a good sign that would be smooth sailing from there. I look at sales the same way in customer resistance. Customers are not resistant to you. It's not something for you to take personal, right? They're not resistant because of the product you're selling. They're resistant because of their experience, right? The average homeowner has seen 7 in-home salespeople before you. They've bought a vacuum cleaner or a roof or an HVAC system, whatever. They've been burnt by somebody. They've had a contract that there was unforeseen cost that was added into it, and they ended up paying more than they expected. Everybody's had an experience. And so that's just a naturally programmed thing that comes into consumers in the United States, is there's going to be natural resistance. So you can't take that personally. The easier it is to get out that resistance, the sooner it happens, the easier it is to get past it. So I want those people. I want the leads that are not interested. I want the leads that have zero intent. I want the leads that you want to throw away. Those are the easiest people to sell. Because if you can just keep your composure and you know how to work with that, and you know how to, again, create alchemy, and you know how to create something out of nothing, those are the funnest sales. Like, if you guys are going out and seeing multiple people every single day, right, it gets really boring just scrolling through a proposal and basically waiting on laydowns. I believe that the reason the closing percentage is so low in the solar industry is because the majority of people are just professional product presenters. They're just expecting Solo or whatever proposal tool that they're using to sell itself. They're just, hey, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the company, tell you about the panels, let me walk around, look at your roof, and they scroll through a proposal, and they just expect solar to sell itself. There's no selling happening. They're just product presenting, like they're customer service reps at Apple, and somebody just knows what they want to buy. It's like, the numbers work, yes, but you have to create something. You have to take these people through a psychological process, and you need to, again, you have to understand, these homeowners are not opportunities to close. These homeowners are your responsibility to close. If you know that you have a product or service that's going to leave somebody better than you found them, it's your responsibility to close them. If you don't close them, you've done nothing but waste their time, waste your time, and fill their head with a bunch of information that they're probably just going to go and use that to buy from somebody else, right? So it's like, why do that? Take responsibility for that sale. Take responsibility. Understand it's your responsibility to close. If you know that you're leaving somebody better than you found them, why would you do anything but leave them better than you found them? And I think that a lot of the magic, a lot of the alchemy, a lot of the sales has been taken out of the sales process. People are afraid to sell. Selling's exciting. It's fun. It's what keeps this thing rolling. It's, you take a person that has zero interest, that has no intention whatsoever of making a decision, and you're able to understand that you're benefiting them if you can get them to make this decision. And then you go through a process, and the next thing you know, you have a signed contract for $50,000 and you just made $5,000. That's exciting, right? There's not a lot of places, there's not a lot of industries, there's not a lot of opportunities out there that allow you to have this kind of fun. So again, my hot take is that there's too much happening in the setting process. There's too much going on. There's too many questions being answered. There's not enough meat left on the bone. And essentially what's happening is all these questions are being answered, all this information is being given, and then on the closing call, the people are just expecting numbers. And so I believe that if you can reduce as much as possible the amount of information that's relayed to the homeowner prior to the closing call and during that setting call. Now, this is different for virtual, right? You want to have a discovery call, and that's a 3-step technically process when you have a setter and then a discovery call and a closing call. At least that's how I prefer to do things. But when you're talking about a 1-call close in-home sale, and you're talking about that appointment was either set over the phone or it was set by a door knocker, I genuinely believe, and I've consulted for dozens and dozens of solar companies across the U.S. I've trained hundreds of solar sales reps, and what I can tell you is that the less information they have and the more that there is left to be desired, you're going to have a higher sit rate, and you're going to give your closers, as long as they're true closers, as long as they're people who have the knowledge, understanding, the experience, the education, the training on being able to actually close and not just present a product, then you're going to put them in a much better position. And I know this sounds counterintuitive, but for all of you setters out there that are trying to get the best at objection handling, that's fine. Sharpen those skills, but use that for when you go to a closing position. Less is more. Get the time and date, get the qualification, make sure everything's set up. Our energy advisor is going to be able to handle all that for you, and set that appointment. I can guarantee you that if you trim the fat and if you literally just stop doing too much, you're going to have a higher sit rate, your closer is going to have a higher close rate, and you guys are going to make a lot more money. So again, I'm sure that I'll have people on the setting side or the door knocking side that believe that you have to sell a homeowner to get into the home. And I just personally have found that's not the case.